guys, and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm taking you through my GCSE and A-level photography journals. So I have 6 journals with me that I'm going to take you through. I don't have all of my A-level ones just because one of them is still at the 6th form I went to. Due to COVID, it's been quite a faff trying to get work back, and I didn't want to put my teacher through any more stress. So these are my 3 GCSE workbooks. I've done all kinds of sizes. GCSE I kind of spent ages trying to figure out what size journal I liked, what I wanted to do, what orientation, so I did A4 to begin with, A4 portrait to begin with, and then I did, I think this was next? Yes. So this was my second one, and I did A3 portrait with white pages. My first one was black pages. And then my final project, I did A3 landscape with black pages. So let's get into them. This one I started during, so you do a transition year. So you come up from year 9, and when you go into year 10 you do a transition year where you do a load of projects and stuff in preparation for your studies. So I started this one during summer, and all we had to do was, so the project was natural forms. You had to come up with a title page. I went through a massive like metallic phase in this one, but wasn't too creative. And so for this we had to put together, we had to take 6 images during the summer and then write down a shooting log for them and a bit of a like analysis about what went well, even better if, and like the dates, like this one was like July 2016, and then this was one of my favourites, kind of, it's not going to focus, but this one was one of my favourites. It's just a tunnel, like leave one on a walk we did when we were in Devon. Some more. This is one of my all-time favourites, I think. It's just a really pretty location. So that was the start of that. And then you have to do a mind map about things that relate to the project you're doing. So I had things like animals, trees, and then we had to do the 6 textures thing where you took 6 different textured pictures. So I got bricks, walls, like the side of like the mobile, which is a building that can move. If you're not from the UK, it's very common. And then an inspiration board. And we shot these photos I used for this in a makeshift studio in the classroom. And this is what happens when you don't press the image down into enough of the emulsion paint when it's wet. It just kind of peels away, and this is in here for marks for what didn't go as planned, because if you kind of analyse that, it kind of like, you get marks for it basically if you kind of say why it didn't work. And then at the end you just put a ton of contact prints. This project, even though it's my first ever photography project at school, I loved it at the time. I was so thrilled with it and how it looked. But looking back on it being 19 and not being 14 anymore, I'm a neat freak in general, so this gets on my nerves a bit with how much space there is, how neat my handwriting isn't, and yeah, it was a good first project, but I've definitely grown since then. It's my first GCSE one. This was my second GCSE project, and it's my least favourite out of all of my journals, and that's purely because of the paper I picked. I decided to do it on white because I had this idea for this, here we go, for this whole watercolour theme, which didn't really work out. It took a while. The watercolour I had wasn't particularly like high quality, so it's quite chalky. But this watercolour theme did not stay throughout it because it got a little time consuming to do that. 7. So this was the year we went to Senin, and a lot of it just consists, a lot of the like transition project with the shooting logs just consist of a lot of holiday pictures from Senin, such as these sunsets, St Michael's Mount, and like these I'm happy with, and I'm still happy with to this day, even though I was, I think, 15 when I took these. Again, I could have done so much more with this mood board, and believe me, there is a mood board on there. Not a mood board, a mind map, but there is a mind map on there. I just picked the worst colour for the light I'm showing it on. But yeah, again, quite plain, wasn't a massive fan of it. And I backed all my images in this project onto black card before sticking them in, just so they showed it more. Now, how I did these artist studies, I really like. So instead of doing a separate kind of 5 images for the artists, I kind of combine them all onto one page and then use it as a backing for the artist study. And I've done the same here with this one. So I like that design and how that one laid out. Photo weaves, the absolute bane of my existence. So you print, these are the 2 photos that I made it up of, and then you basically draw down the back of the images, your lines, and then weave them together. And it is painstaking because they all fall apart, they go wonky, which it has done in this one. Towards the bottom it slants all over the place and it's a real pain. Now, the point of this, so it's working in style of an artist called Doug Aiken, and it took so much time to try and figure out how to flip and do it. But these are the 4 images I use, and you just combine them into this kind of like world thing which is made up of 4, and they're all supposed to like join up with the lines and everything. That took me and my teacher ages to try and figure out, and it was not fun. And then different viewpoints, which looking back on it, I don't know how these are different viewpoints, but they are. So this time, instead of mocking up using images, I decided to mock up my final pieces doing like pencil drawings. You really can't see it, but they were interesting. It's awful to see on this white paper, but for my final piece, I did this 6 image collage of images from Senin, I think, where I did 3 emotion transfers and 2 3D kind of like print things. It wasn't my favourite final piece. It was low relief images. With the low relief, you just kind of, this is low relief, and it's basically just, you take an image and then you cut out different pieces so I can like peel this back, put it on cardboard, and it kind of creates a 3D texture. This one has got rather squished because it's just been enclosed in this for absolutely ages. So, second project of GCSE, definitely my least favourite of all my GCSE projects, I have to say. That is just a fact. Finally, we have my exam project for GCSE. And this one, I don't know, I did some questionable edits in this. Like, my biggest thing with photography is I like to just do subtle edits, colour editing kind of here and there, get the image how I want it when I shoot it, and more edits afterwards, as opposed to doing a ton of random creative edits afterwards. I mean, in order to get the marks, you have to be creative. So this one, so you get a load of different briefs for the exam, and you kind of pick one and go off of that. So I did human figure landscapes because I like landscapes, but during GCSE, actually no, I didn't. That wasn't the reason for this. So in this one, I picked something that was landscape based, as during GCSE, as we can tell from previous shoot journals, I adored nature and had to shoot everything to do with nature because it was easy. I've never particularly liked architecture, but I'm learning to like it through street photography as I'm getting older. Again, a mind map, which is probably my favourite designed mind map of all my GCSE stuff. It's simple and I've never been able to make mind maps look cool. There's a lot of edits in this which I'm not a massive fan of, and I think I was trying like too hard. This was quite cool, so this is my own eye. I blinded myself trying to take this. But it's basically where you use something to create the iris of the photo. So I just stuck a swan there. So why not? You know. Drawing on images, so I don't know if you can see, but I just kind of accentuated the details on this swan with a gold metallic pen. Going through this project, I'm quite surprised at like how much I don't like looking back on it and how much I'm just not a fan. So these are some of my development art pieces. So I quite like this one of my sister with the eyes missing and then a bit of a like reflection-y style thing on the eye. I did a piece which I kind of used real flour for, but I had to take it out because the leftover pressed flowers that I had, to be fair, it's not leaked, so I probably could have left it on, but the leftover pressed flowers I had from doing this particular piece were like leaking and like going mouldy, and I just couldn't understand, so I thought probably best to take it out of my journal before it ruins it. I tried glue trappings, and glue trappings are basically where it's pretty much as it sounds really. You basically get a like cutting board, you put cling film on it, and then you spread a thin layer of like thin layer of PVA glue over it. You put your image on it, and then you do another thin layer of PVA glue over the top. And you just kind of have like the leftover of the glue, and I added some glitter into this one. Not that you can see it very well on this, but this was my favourite. And it's extremely fragile, but I loved doing those. And that was my final piece. So just like the eye in the centre with some cool. I did 2 glue trappings, 2 wax trappings, and 2 low reliefs, and I'm very happy with how that turned out, if I'm honest. Now that I've taken you through my GCSE work, let's take a look at my A-level work. For my first project, I did the same style journal as my end project of my GCSE, as I really like that. And you do a statement of intent at A-level, and I really like the layout of this. It just looks very cool and just nice way of laying it out. We did some darkroom work where we used like clear acetates to put our designs on them, and these like the proper paper ones, and that you then just put them in. This one was way too overexposed, way too much white, and you just put them in and then you develop them and everything. It's a cheap way of doing film photography. Then we did some silk screen printing, which I really enjoyed. I went a bit crazy on. This was my favourite, just of me again, and you get your acetates printed onto the silk screens, and then you just like drag special paint mixture through them. This was my final piece, or halfway through project piece, and I just did 2 silk screen printings and 2 darkroom prints of me with the fruit, as I loved working on that. Jordan Matter is one of my favourite photographers, so I did a work in the style of him with some of my friends, and I adore these. I've come back to these photos and doing them with these girls, with Libby and Caitlin, a lot. I made sure to include some of my motorsport work in this because it's portraits, but it's also tying in like what I want to go into and just one of my other massive passions. One task we had to do was glitch editing, and even though I absolutely adored doing this, I had such a faff trying to do it. I don't think I'll ever do it again, but that was my result, and I really like it and I love how cool it looks, but guaranteed I can't do that again. It's too flipping difficult. For my second journal of that project, because you end up doing two, it's like a 1.5 year long one, I opted to do portrait style, like orientation, as I was doing a lot of portraits and I wanted to include A3 portrait images, so this was it. The brand I used for like all my journals was, I think it's called Art Gecko, and literally love the brand so much. All my journals in the end were from them. Some of the A3 portraits I included were just like this one for my sister and some other ones with contact prints and a shooting log attached. Yes, this was extremely painful, but I loved it and it was a really cool way to show it differently. So I did a work in style of Caleb, who's this really cool artist on Instagram who does all this really surreal editing, and this was one of my attempts of it, and I really love the effect of the butterflies and how they look, so this is probably my photo I'm most proud of. Now, the photos I showed you before of me with the orange, they're called photograms. Completely forgot the name until I looked into this book and found some of my favourite prints. So of course I had to incorporate my motorsport work, and this photo here I think works beautifully as a photogram, but it's one of my favourite motorsport photos I've ever taken because this rider, it's him with his dad and it's before the championship photos, so I think it's a really nice photo with a really nice like not meaning, but like knowledge behind it. And this one is of a rider I've been working with this year, but from when he was in British Talent Cup, and a lot of people just say he looks like he's walking on the moon. I completely get that, but I just love the shadow and everything about it. And I've just given myself a paper cut on my journal, so that's fun. Had a play around with British colours in this one and trying a load of different kind of styles for it. Oh yes, this one. This was shot in Gibraltar in the siege tunnels because I really like the lighting and I wanted to tie in this Caleb editing style, but for that I needed the lighting on the face and I thought this worked out really cool. And the final image from this journal that I like is this one. It's combining the photo idea, the butterflies, with the orange, and I just happen to have a bright yellow 50s dress lying around the house. And that is the end of my first A-level project that I actually have the journal for. Next is my final exam project. Last but not least, we have my final A-level project, and the reason it is so slim in comparison with the likes of this and the other ones that are actually completed projects is because thanks to COVID, and that is still around as everybody is aware, I didn't get to finish this project or sit the final 15-hour exam for it because we broke up like everyone else in the UK when we went into lockdown on the 21st of March, which is when like the holidays were, and we just didn't kind of come back after that. So this is an incompleted project, which was in a way I'm pleased about because I really struggled with this project, but I had some cool ideas that I was gonna do that just never came around. So this was a cool shot I did with a friend. So my project was called Reflections, and that's the kind of thing I went with. This was called It Had Chucked It Down Loads, as it often does in England, and we had this really bright umbrella and just this massive puddle. I think this might have been when it like snowed briefly in the UK actually. And then I've got this one of my friend Siobhan, where we shot the two images separate, and I photoshopped in this image into the mirror, and I quite like the juxtaposition of the two. And again, statement of intent, I quite like it how the umbrella's just kind of sat there. I really like this design for statement of intents actually. I just thought it looked pretty cool. The reason I typed them is because I spent ages writing these out and doing all the fancy writing, and even though I love them and love how they look, it was a real faff, and half the reason I ended up doing this was because the actual typed versions didn't fit on, so I kind of screwed myself over. was similar to the mirror idea that I did with my friend. I just put my mirror down on the desk in front of me, shot it where I was like, put some water on it and where I was looking like that, and then combined the two images in Photoshop. I'm very happy with how this looks. I think my editing skills were a bit sketchy, but the edit actually looks really cool and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. And then I had this weird one which, even though it looks like it's upside down, it's kind of a bit Alice in Wonderland-y kind of thing, like you're trapped in a mirror kind of thing. I really like how it looked, but as a result, that is all that is in this project, because, oh, that is the before and after of the other one that I was just showing you. So that's just edited into there and that's how they were both shot. But that is all that is in this project, as COVID stopped it halfway through and I didn't get to finish it or see through my A-level course in any of them really. So the 4 subjects I sat, the way we got our grades was through like the government decision and what our teachers kind of said based on our predicted grades. So it was a real shame that I didn't get to finish photography, as I adored my photography teacher. She was such a sweetheart, and I, like, even though I was kind of half reason I stayed on at my secondary school to do 6th form because I wasn't ready to leave, and even though by the end of it was bittersweet and quite emotional because, well, like, we were all geared up to leave in July, but we were all leaving in March instead, and that was like the last time we were going to be there. So it was a bit weird, but yeah, I really enjoyed actually looking back through my old journals and critiquing and seeing how cringy my stuff was, and to see how much I've changed since, how much I've matured and where I am now. But I hope you enjoyed it as well. I know I find these kind of videos very interesting, so I hope you also found it interesting. If you have any video ideas or any like editing things or any tips on photography that you'd like, granted I'm not a pro, I will try my best to make a video on it, so it helps. If you want to like leave that in the comments, that would be cool, and help me with video ideas, and hopefully help you guys if you need any tips or want to see any behind the scenes kind of stuff. So give it a like if you liked it, feel free to subscribe so you don't miss any more stuff, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.